And I'm excited to be able to introduce, to kick off this session, Lucy Powell. And Lucy is the Shadow Cabinet Secretary for DCMS. And I'll hand over to you, Lucy.
Thanks very much, all very trendy lecterns you have here in sort of trendy tech. It's not quite the lectern I'm used to, but anyway, we'll hopefully do well with. Thanks so much, Ash. Thanks, Michael, and thanks, Saul, as well, for hosting us here at Local Global. It's a real privilege to be here. I did let the local MP know I was coming, Keir Starmer, for those of you who don't know, and he sends his best wishes and looking forward to doing other stuff with you going forward. I think I'm probably a tech optimist to answer your first question, but I think as a policymaker, as politicians, we do have to be mindful of all the pitfalls and everything else. So I'm really pleased to be here today. As I was introduced, I'm going to turn this around. Is that all right? Just go for that. It's good to see so many friendly faces here as well. And one of my neighbours is here as well as lots of people I've worked with as well. So that much was the hot ticket for this, that one of my neighbours wanted to come and to be here as well today. But yeah, you don't need me to sort of tell you how quickly this whole agenda is emerging. And it's emerging very quickly in terms of government and Labour's response to these things as well. I'm currently the digital culture, media and sport, so we haven't reorganised yet as the government have done, and that's because we just wanted to take some time to think about what would be the structure that an incoming Labour government could consider. But it doesn't stop us from really pushing on these issues, which we have been doing. And so I think what I just wanted to say at the beginning was a bit of context around, obviously AI is emerging, it's very fast-paced, very fast-moving. It went from being something that we had a few think tank sort of workshops on a year or two ago to being in the news every single day at the moment. It has the power to be transformational for our public services, transformational for our economy, transformational for the way in which people do work and achieve value in their lives. And I think when you put that alongside quantum computing and semiconductors, all the other sort of issues that are around, but particularly alongside quantum computing, I think the scale of the processing power and the scale of change is going to be very profound. And we've talked about the opportunity of AI, particularly in our public services, something that Keir's talked about recently, for example, in health tech and diagnostics, the processing power there, saving radiologists, finding cancer cases, saving them 60% of their time, for an example. And we've got John Ashworth, our shadow DWP minister, talking today about using AI more effectively in job centres to help people write their CVs and get their jobs, although we know that could come with pitfalls as well in terms of discrimination and prejudice. And looking at data issues too, which is obviously really important in this context. If you take an example of Greater Manchester, where they've pooled together the data of all of those under the age of 5, it's enabled them to really deliver early intervention in the early years much more effectively, and it's driving up that development of children under the age of 5. So there is real potential here, but there is also, as you're discussing today, what comes with that is huge disruption potentially, especially in the nature of work and the economy. And I think the big question for us as Labour politicians and as policy makers is who benefits from this big disruption, in whose interest does this disruption work? Will it be for those who already hold the wealth and power and the data sources and the platforms, or the big tech community, so to speak? Or will it leave behind communities that have previously been left behind from previous tech disruptions, like the deindustrialization or the industrial revolution in the past? Or can we harness this technology for public good and in the interests of the many, and make sure that the benefits are fairly shared across the country, across community and across workers? And I think we feel that we got some of this wrong when it came to looking at social media. We've acted too slowly as a country in terms of regulating that. We've allowed some of the platforms and technologies to race ahead, and we're lagging behind. And this has had really difficult consequences for the mental health of young people, for dis and misinformation proliferation, for misogyny, hatred online, and all of those challenges that you'll all be familiar with, which Molly Russell's parents described as monetizing misery. So we do need to learn the lessons of that. And I think it's great that the Prime Minister wants to take a global leadership position on these issues. But what I would say is that you can't just talk big, you need to act big as well, and not just act small. And I think the Online Safety Bill has been an example about how not to do digital regulation well. It's been delayed, we've flip-flopped, there's been indecision, it's been watered down at the last minute, and it's taken 5 years to come about. It's on its last day in the Lords today, for those of you who are interested. The data bill, which the government have brought forward, doesn't even mention AI, and it's sort of weakening rights just at a time when we need to give people confidence in their data and how it's been used. And the AI strategy, although there were some good parts to it, has been sort of out of date before it's even the ink is dry. Can you think of a better digital analogy to the ink being dry? Please let me know, because I could do with one. So I think we want to see a different approach, and I think that's why we feel that this is a moment that does call for Labour values. I'm not here to sort of be that party political, but obviously it is about applying those values to this context, and I think that's what your conference is really discussing for good, to direct AI for the public good and in the interests of the many. And I think it means getting ahead of that coming storm, working with business, ensuring that workers feel they've got confidence in the changing nature of their industries around them. And we'll work in partnership. That's why we're really keen to be at these sorts of events today, and use the UK's strengths to develop some of that competitive advantage that we have. So we want to take a values-driven, principled-based approach to regulation of AI, embedding fairness, accountability, safety by design into the foundations of how the technology works and impacts on society. And our aim will be that everybody everywhere gets to benefit from that technology, whether you're a software engineer here in London, or a nurse in Manchester, or a creative in the Outer Hebrides. We need to lay those strong foundations to make sure that is the case, not just through regulation, but making sure we've got a really clear skills agenda, which I'll come on to, connectivity, the active industrial strategy and a plan for job creation, and a modern government that's really able to seize these opportunities as well. And I think that outside of the big trading blocs, outside now the EU and the US, we have an opportunity to forge a different path and to show that leadership in some of these areas, as long as we have a clear long-term strategy and we have this principled based approach, which we'll be developing hopefully with you over coming months as well. So just in terms of your main thrust today, in terms of that impact on workers, I think this is a really good illustration of around the approach that we would take, and one that we are particularly concerned with, because I think workers can either be empowered by technology, or they can find themselves on the wrong side of biased algorithms and robot firing, as it's become known. So we want to ensure that workers benefit from new technologies in their workplaces, but that employers are accountable for that use, and that technologies are designed with worker safety in mind, whether that's surveillance, performance management, hiring and firing, and so on. And as the technologies change, an active government working in partnership, an interventionist active government would develop that over time with with our clear industrial strategy, which we've been laying out as well. And to realise this, we do need to get the foundations right, as I was saying, through skills, responsible regulation, connectivity, and so on, and making sure that everybody can utilise this. Because every job is going to become digital. Every business, every job, if it's not already, will become digital. And one of the key issues we've got as an economy is our long tail of poor productivity. So we've got a great tech sector, which you all exemplify here in this room and here in this building. We've got world-leading tech sector, but we have this long tail of poor diffusion of technology and adoption through our economy. So it's only by reskilling and retraining, by having these clear foundations, that we can really, I think, drive up productivity and that long tail issue, which is so important to what we're trying to do. And that's why we're working on a digital economy green paper, which hopefully will be being launched in the coming weeks, something that Keir is leading on. He's doing a speech a little bit about this in the coming weeks around how the digital technology disruption that we're going to see will also help Labour deliver its missions in government as well. So just a bit on skills. You all know better than me about the huge growing skills gap that we have even in tech and beyond tech as well. And it's not just about looking for more software engineers, although I know that is a key issue, or mathematicians or data analysts, but also about ensuring that you've got people with the creative skills and the marketing, design and other digital literacy and creative skills at the moment. And as I think you alluded to at the beginning, our school system at the moment is really not producing enough young people with those skills of the future. And that's why last week at our big education mission, I don't expect you to have followed that closely, but one of the key planks of the next Labour government, Keir Starmer was setting out last week, is that we will now require schools to do more when it comes to teaching GCSEs, children taking GCSEs in the creative subjects, arts, drama, music and so on. And also we're going to be looking at reforming that digital skills agenda. I have a particular bugbear about the computer science GCSE, which I'm sure we'll share. But it's also why we are promising to reform the apprenticeship levy as well, because there is that disconnect between what you need as employers and what's coming through the pipeline, and the rigidity of the apprenticeship levy is holding many businesses back, especially startup businesses, small, creative, digital businesses, unable to really seize the opportunity of apprenticeship. So we're going to halve the apprenticeship levy, can be used more flexibly. We're calling it a growth and skills levy, and we're working with businesses like yourselves to ensure that really happens when we're in government. So hopefully the reform of the school system, reform of the apprenticeship levy will help unlock some of that talent pipeline for your sector. But of course the next big issue, which you alluded to there at the beginning, Michael, is the workforce of today, because actually most of those jobs of the future that we don't know the name of yet, please let me know some of the jobs of the future, will be done by today's workforce, not by the future workforce. So I'm really pleased to be here. That gives you a quick canter through of some of the things that we're thinking about, and we really look forward to working with you. Amy, my political advisor, who's at the back there, who's brilliant on these issues, she wants to stay for the whole day to really immerse herself in a lot of your conversations. Unfortunately, I can't stay for the whole session, but I'm really pleased to be here, and thank you very much for having me. Thank you.